Hey everyone, it's me, Undead Viking, here with another video review. The game I'm reviewing today is a game called Epic Resort. It is literally in the last day or two of its Kickstarter. My good friend Ben, the designer, who I made friends with at a convention in Minneapolis, St. Paul, a convention called Con of the North. I met him about 3 or 4 years ago. He just kind of showed up out of nowhere, walked up to me, introduced himself, and we started talking about games, and he mentioned that he had designed a game that had actually gotten published through Kickstarter, and it was a game called Legacy Gears of Time. And he gave me a copy right then and there. He had just gotten the published copies. And I've always felt really bad because as much as I've really enjoyed that game, I've never reviewed it. It's one of those things where it's a really excellent game, and it's a lot of fun, and it really is one of the really great success stories for early Kickstarter because of the fact that it just kind of came out of nowhere and got a really good audience, and it's as far as a time travel Euro game, it's really unique, and I really enjoyed it. And so when Ben approached me at Con of the North just this last February and said, "Hey, I got this game called Epic Resort. Would you like to take a look at it?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll take a look at it." And literally, he handed me this Ziploc bag full of cards and a few sheets of paper that had been stapled together. And I said thank you, and I said, "Yeah, I'll take care of that for you, man." And then I threw it in my backpack, and I literally completely forgot about it. I put it in there, and I got home from my convention, I put it aside, and then all of a sudden I saw just something on Board Game Geek, somebody talking about Epic Resort was on, and I was like, oh my gosh, no. And so I literally a day or two ago I tracked it down. I looked through everything. I couldn't find it anywhere. I found it in my backpack finally, obviously. And I got my friends over, and we hustled through several plays of the game because I couldn't not review the game. Basically because, well, I had to make sure I liked it. I wasn't going to do a review of a game and try to doom a Kickstarter by giving it a poor review. But I knew I was going to like it. I mean, I like the idea of it. The idea of each person running a theme park, which is something I like. I like that idea. And then you throw a fantasy theme on top of it. You throw monsters and heroes and things like that. And even though it was a deck builder, I'm not a big fan of deck building games. I don't know, I just got burnt out on them, and I feel like, there really hasn't been anything new about them that's really excited me for a while. And I found myself really enjoying it. I really enjoyed the choices. Maybe it was because, well, I'll tell you more about that when we get to my conclusion. So let me show you how to play Epic Resort. And I'll remind you again, this game is in Kickstarter, and it is funded. It is gonna go, and that's awesome. But it is in the last 72 hours or less at this moment. And so when you see this video, please take a look at that, and you'll have to think about whether or not you want to donate money and get your own copy once it's published. But alright, here we go, how to play Epic Resort, and then when we come back I'll tell you exactly what I was getting to at that point. Alright. This is Epic Resort, and if you have played deck builders before, you might recognize some things. This is your basic, these are the cards that you have available. You randomly pick those from a deck of several options. You just, there are 6 cards that you always use, and those are these top 3, the Journeyman, the Guildmaster, and the Dayworker. But the other 6, you draw one randomly, and the game is going to come with several ones. These were just ones that I didn't pick randomly: the Cicerone, the First List, the Valet, the Accountant, and the Maitre d'. And those workers just won't be used in this particular game because they weren't picked. And so that's one of those things that, if you're familiar with this whole process, the deck builders, is you keep the game kind of fresh by limiting exactly what's going to be available. So the strategy you used in the game you played before theoretically won't work in this particular game. So, and as always, this is a prototype that I was given. It's a very nice prototype, but obviously some of the art is done, like you can see on this square card, the art full color. But for like, say, the Impresario here, you know, the art isn't. So, you know, just so bear that in mind as I show you how to play the game. The game is pretty simple. As with most deck builders, you start off with a deck of starting cards. These are the basic cards you get. You have Street Performers, Apprentices, and Lazy Peons. And so these are the ones that you begin with. You shuffle up your starting deck. You also get, these are the two resorts that you start with. Very basic. You have a beach and a Tiki Hut. And so those are the two basic resorts that you start with, that you will have to populate with workers. Hopefully you'll attract, some guests to come and stay there, so you can start making money and impressing everybody. And then hopefully you can get some heroes, because heroes are the way you score points, and so on and so forth. So we'll draw 5 cards, and we'll look at them and see what we have here. We have Apprentices, Lazy Peons. So the only thing we didn't get a Street Performer. Those are still, you know, over there in my deck, but I didn't get those. The Lazy Peons are just that. They're Lazy Peons. You can't really use them for anything. Unfortunately, the only thing they're good for is for being fed to monsters. Because you'll notice that it says if you discard during an attack, you remove the card from the game, so you can, you know, get better deck management, obviously. But then you feed him to the monster, and then the monster goes away, and the monster doesn't attack things that are actually important to you. That leaves us with these 2 Apprentice cards that are actually workers that can actually work on your resort. And so we have our 2 basic ones. Everybody starts at the beach and a Tiki Hut, and I should have put a guest. You already have 1 guest on either spot like that. And so these create your resources for you depending on the guests that are staying. Here, I'll take that cube off and I'll show you this. If you look up at the top, there is, you know, like you can see those numbers. That's the top is the flare and the bottom is the gold. And so if nothing is covered, you look at the furthest one to the left, and you would earn 2 flare and 0 money for this. If we have 1 person there, we would get, obviously, we would get 2 flare and 2 gold, and then 1 flare, 3 gold. And finally, if all 3 of these are covered, then you just get 4 gold out of it. So you can kind of see how, like, having guests at your place is good because you make money, but flair is what actually attracts heroes and guests to come to your place. So it's kind of you're going to find yourself when you're playing this game, it's kind of a seesaw. It goes back and forth as you play. And you're kind of riding that wave, and you got to time it well. But you'll see that in just a moment. So you start with one each like that. And now with your workers, you have to decide what you're going to do. So you notice at the top of these workers, you can see they are equivalent of 1 worker. And you can see at the bottom of these, you need 2 workers to actively control the Tiki Hut and 1 worker to control the beach. So everybody does it at the same time. They look at the top 5 cards, and since, you know, I have these 3 Lazy Peons, aren't going to do me any good at all. I got kind of unlucky. Well, the beach only has 1 icon down there. So what I can do is I can go ahead and put 1 guy on there, meaning that the beach is fully staffed at this point. And that means I'm not going to lose this particular visitor that's on there. He's being taken care of. The tourist isn't going to leave. I can only put this one on there. And the thing is that I'm going to lose, you know, since this has 2 people on the bottom, I'm going to lose this guy no matter what. I can't stop it from happening. So it's actually wise for me to keep this one in my hand, because of the fact that theoretically, if I make enough money, you know, I'll be able to possibly trade my apprentice in and buy somebody else to take over for him. Now, the thing is that you can see is that you can hire a skilled worker to your hand, and you lock the worker pile. And I'll show that to you in just a moment here. But when you do that, you put the apprentice down there, meaning that somebody else could theoretically take him then if they wanted to hire a worker. I don't know, it doesn't really happen that often, but you put him back out here. So we have our 1 guy working. We're going to keep that. We're going to lose this one because there's nobody there to take care of him. He leaves and goes somewhere else. And so we look, and what we get we're going to get 2 flair and 1 money. We're going to get 2 flair. So you adjust your little track here. 4 flair. We're going to have 1 money. So we don't have a lot of gold. So, and that's probably not going to let us buy anything. But the nice thing about gold is you get to keep that as the turns go. So you can build up a stockpile of gold. That isn't the same with flair. If you don't spend flair, it's going to go. And so you need to use it up. So after everybody's done that and everybody's gathered the resources and see what they're going to do, now is when you start taking your actions. And I'm going to fiddle with this a little bit just so I can show you all the different actions you can do. There's lots of things that you can do as far as like certain resort locations you have. They'll have actions that you can do, and they're kind of you just activate them as need be, and usually they're a one-time shot, and then like for that particular turn you can't use it again. For example, let's just like look at this slaughter coaster. You'll see here there's this little lock symbol there, and it says lose any number of, and that's the cubes that are tourists from this attraction, and gain a flair for each one that you lose. And so you can see this is a level 3. You can see right here, and you can see a much larger thing. You can earn up to 7 money if you had 6 tourists on it. It is an exciting resort location, so that's important for some cards that might affect exciting locations. And if you use that ability, what you end up doing is you say I'm using that ability, and you place just a marker on there. And like these are my own markers. I didn't get any. These are just my leftover cubes and glass beads that I have. I don't know what they're going to look like in the game, but you put that on there, and then after your turn, after everybody's done with their turn, you go on to the next turn. You get to take those locked markers off. And so that's how that process works. So what you'll do then is usually what you end up doing is you end up spending money to get new workers, money to get new resort locations, or flair to get both normal tourists and heroes to join you. So on this turn, if you have 4 flair and 1 money, which you can't really spend any of that money to get somebody right now because of the fact that there really isn't anything. But like these things all cost gold. But there is one person you can get, and this is a day worker. And a day worker is a skilled worker. It counts as 2, as you see, and doesn't cost any money to get it. And if you apply him, however, you lose 1 gold from the thing. So if you put him on something that made you 4 gold, you'd only get 3. Now, you might say, well, why would you get that? Well, but still, the thing is that you need to try to fill up these resorts as much as you possibly can. And so, we're just going to do that. So what you do is you turn your apprentice in, and then so now that apprentice is out there, maybe somebody will pick him up for some reason. And then you take the day worker. And unlike a lot of these games when you buy where you put it in your discard pile, you actually get to take this person and put him in your hand. And sometimes that matters because some of them have discard abilities. Like say this squire. You can discard this one and adds 3 power to a hero. If a hero gets into a fight, you can use that. Or if you get this herald, it's like you can discard and you gain 2 points of flair. Now it should be noted that discarding is not like at the end of the round. Discarding is actually done as kind of a free action. So if you had a bunch of cards in your hand you wanted to discard, you could do that and get that bonus on your turn. So you did that. It didn't cost any money. You don't adjust anything over here. It gets around back to you theoretically, and then now it's your turn. You have 4 points of flair, and I want to get some more people to come to my place. I want them to enjoy. I want them at my resorts. So you can look at your options, and if you'll notice, the Tiki Hut is what's called as a food location. And if you look at these guys, the foodies, they cost 2 flair to get from the docks, and they like food. And you would get 1 tourist, but if you have a foodie thing that you apply them to, you get 2 more. So I'll take that, and we'll put this in the discard pile. And what will happen then is that since I'm going to go to the Tiki Hut, I'll get 3 tourists. and I'll just go ahead and I'll fill up my Tiki Hut. Now, hopefully, by the time when the next round comes around, I'll be able to get 2 workers in there, and then, you know, that won't lose any of my tourists. So that cost me 2, so I go like that. It goes all the way around, and just for, let's just say I'm lucky and nobody took, like, here's just a straightforward couples, 2 flare, 2 cubes. So I get those, and now I've filled out my my beach. Now, I should mention that you have room for a third resort, a third place to put down. But after you've got 3, then you gotta start putting other places on top of the ones that you already have. And you always have to increase it. So if you have a level 1, like these are level 0. And so you'd have to at least get a level 1 to put on top of there. And then after you have a level 1, you have to go to level 2, then you have to level 2, you go to level 3, and so on and so forth. You can definitely skip a level if you have enough money and you want to, like, go from, say, a level 1 location to a level 3. But you do have to go up a level when you get a better place. So after all is said and done, then you've taken all your actions, you've done everything. Then you go to what is called the docks, like where things are going to, like, new people are going to come off of the location. Oh, you know, I should show you, just so I can quickly show you. This is a hero. And like you see, it's a warlord. It costs 7 flare to hire him. He has a power of 4. And notice, like, he has a little ability where you gain 3 tourists as soon as you get them. You get to put them on any attraction. And then you also notice that he's going to be worth 4 points at the end of the game if you get him in your score pile. And you can see he's got 5 health. And the whole point of this game is that the heroes are coming to your resort to, like, rest up after an adventure. And so when you get a hero, you put a cube on the heart that is the heart that is filled in, and you slowly move the cube down the line every turn. And if you can get him, or this warlord, or any other heroes, and if you can get it there, and then, like, you're there at that point, you're on the last heart, and then, like, it's the end of the turn, you get to move it again. You then get to, like, put this guy in your score pile because he is, you know, he stayed at your resort. He rested up, he got healthy, and now he's going to go adventure again. And that's the whole point. I mean, this is where most of your points in the game are going to come from. You'll get some points from the locations, the higher level locations that you have, but your heroes are where you get most of your points. So, there you go. That's a hero. So, what'll happen now is that this kind of goes, you get 7 of these cards in a 4-player game. And in like a 2-player game, you only get 6. But they're the docks, and you have to get rid of the oldest one. So the way I did this is kind of serpentine. Like, this is the newest, and then this is the oldest. So you take this one and you discard it, and then you slide it down, slide this one over, slide this one over, slide this one like here, like so. And now you have these 3 spots. And I should mention that this is just a season pass holder, and, like, this is one that shows up in a 4-player game. And I should say 4. Yeah. So you can see there for 4 flare, you can get 3 people, and then you notice there's a lock. So once it gets used, it's locked up and you can't use it again. Oh, and I should have mentioned one other thing too. When you buy a skilled worker, you actually lock down that spot as well. So when you train and say I train that day worker, you put that on there, meaning nobody else can do that until you've taken that marker off. Now, there are certain abilities, like heroes, like the rogue has the ability to remove locks on cards, and also there's abilities that these places up here will remove it as well. But for the most part, this is a way that you can actually block it off and make sure that nobody else can get that particular worker until, you know, they're able to go. So, you know, that is how that goes. But now you're going to refill these locations. So you turn a card over, and here we have just a duo. And what you're looking for, there we go. So we have an attack. And so what happens with an attack is a monster attacks, and it will target, if you have only 2, it'll target this one. And if you have all 3, it'll target this one. And that isn't always like that. It can be, you know, a lot of different. So monster attacks. So you place that there, and you draw from the deck, and there's level 1, 2, and 3 monsters. So, like, Level 3 is down here. Level 2 is there. Here we go. Level 1 monster. So you turn it over, and it says it's a baby dragon. And so you'll look at that one. Look at everybody's attraction. That is that. And it'll attack the one that has the most tourists. And it eats tourists. And you'll look, and it has an attack of 3. Now, the thing is that when you have an attack of 3, what'll happen is that if you have a hero that is either on that location or that you can move to that location, he can try to defend against the monster. And so, if this was was me and I had the warlord, I could say, well, he's going to attack the first one. My warlord happened to be there, staying there. He will fight the monster, and you'll compare the health of the power of the monster versus the hero, and then you determine whether or not he can fight it off. If he's unable to fight it off, like in this case he would be able to, but let's just say the warlord had a power of 2 instead of 3. So it would be too much. He would wound the warlord, and so if you had only 1 hit point, he would actually kill the warlord, and you have to discard him. But if you have more up here, it would just knock him down. So it would take more turns for him to actually heal up, and it'd take more turns for him to actually so to get over to this point and actually survive. And then whatever's left, then they would eat your tourists. So in this case, what you have is that he is going to defeat the baby dragon, and he's going to prevent the damage from occurring. Now, if he was over here and the baby dragon attacked, I can move the warlord over. Now, that being said, if I didn't want the warlord to die because he only has 1 hit point, I can say the warlord runs away and goes to the location. They can only move once, though. If, for whatever reason, because you keep drawing cards, if I got another monster attack and the warlord had run away, and then he got attacked again, he couldn't run away again. And if you have heroes at all of your locations, you can't run away because they're all full. But so I could have him run away, and then I could let the dragon eat my tourists instead of trying to defeat it. If I'd rather just suffer that consequence and instead of losing the guy that I have. Now, in the rare occasion where you don't have any tourists and no hero, and a monster attacks a location, it'll damage it, and you'll put a damage token on the card. Your starting easy ones have 3 health to them, and the ones that you buy have 2 health, and it's very possible for your attractions to be destroyed because it's very tough to fix those, because there's only certain heroes that can fix them, and there's only certain cards that can fix those. So once your attractions take damage, it's kind of a bad deal. I should mention that even if the hero is able to defeat the monster, they're still going to take that damage. It's the price of having a battle. So a lot of times, especially if you just got a hero, you're going to be moving them off the attraction and just letting the monster have his way with your location because you don't want to deal with any of the you want to deal with losing the possibility to score points. So that happens, and so we'll keep turning over here. And so, okay, Toastmasters, and 1 more, and Bevy. Now, it goes without saying that if you ever run out of these dock cards, you can just reshuffle the deck that you have, and you can go ahead and just restart off the deck or whatever. So after that is all filled, you take all of the cards that you either had still in your hand. Oh, and I should mention that when I got attacked, if I didn't want to move my hero or didn't want to mess anything on, I could just ditch a lazy peon card as well, and then that just cancels the attack, and you don't have to worry about it. And it's also a really good idea because then you can get rid of these cards out of your hand, and then you don't have to worry about them, because once you use them, they're removed from the game because, well, they've been eaten. So you take all of those, you'll get rid of them, you'll put them in your discard pile. You'll draw 5 new cards, and you'll start up again. And so we get a bunch of apprentices. Well, 5 apprentices. That's great. So, in this situation, that's actually pretty good because of the fact that, I can then put 1 apprentice there. I can put 2 apprentices on this one. I've totally filled out my locations, and I'm not going to get a lot of flair this turn. Remember, my flair goes down to nothing. I'm not going to get any flair this turn, but I am going to get my full complement of gold. So I'm going to get 3 gold and 4 gold from this. I get to put that up to 8, and then, you know, here comes the next turn. Now, a lot of times, you know, you'll just not go and send a full complement of your workers to those locations just because because you'll need flair. And it's kind of a really neat resource management thing. Even though, like, you know, just because, like, you kind of have to decide, looking at as far as what's out there, what you need money for, what you need the flair for, and things like that. And so you just kind of have to. It's like a balance, if you will, that you're trying to. Fit perfectly what you need that particular turn. One other thing I want to show you quick here, there is the star player card. You randomly determine the star player at the beginning of the game, but after that, the first person to pass, like when you're taking your actions, you know, when you're like, I'm going to recruit this guy, that's my action. I'm going to buy an attraction, that's an action. I'm going to, you know, hire a bouncer, that's an action. So when you're taking your actions, the first person who says they pass is the first player. And so they take this card, the next turn they'll get the first crack at the first action, what have you. If the person who was the first player maintains the first player, they're the first person to pass, you take a token and you put it on top of the card, and then each time that happens you keep putting tokens on top of the card. The very first time somebody else takes it that isn't the first player, they get this, and they get money equal to every single token that's on the card. So it's kind of a way that the game, like, even if you think you want to do another action or something like that, there might be so much money on this card that it's too worth it to you to skip it at that point. So the game continues like that. You'll be purchasing the attractions. You'll be placing those down. You'll eventually, what'll happen is that you will have your heroes will mature, and then you'll score those points. Whenever you mature a hero, or like you heal up a hero fully and he goes into your score pile, you discard a monster card as well. And obviously the monster cards get discarded as you're fighting them. Eventually you'll run out of these, and that signals the end of the game. You get to go through one more phase of graduating your heroes. So if you have any heroes that are really close to being done, like they filled out everything and they just need that one last turn, you get to do that and you get to score those. After that, though, you take all the points that you get from the heroes. You get all the points from all of your attractions, even ones that you've buried down below. So like if you have a 3 on top of a 2 on top of a 1, you know, that would be 6 points, obviously. And you still score, if you have any heroes that are still at your resort, but they haven't fully healed yet, you get 1 point each for those. You total up your points that way, and then whoever has the most points, obviously, wins the game. So there you go. That's a really brief, just the mechanics of the game. There's a lot more depth to it because, I didn't show you each one of these cards, but like you can see that, like, they have all these have like abilities. So it's for a Razorback roast. It's a food, attraction, and you get to take this action, and it's like +2 to each hero at your resort. So like if you got attacked, you want some extra power for your heroes, you put a marker on there, you +2. The Gallery Conquest. When a hero defends against a monster at this attraction, you gain money. Because like everybody's watching it and they think it's pretty awesome. And you notice this one is a fancy location. And Piranha Tour, it's relaxing. If you use it, you just gain 2 flair. So there's all kinds of things like that you do. And you'll notice that you actually do it so you can see 2 of them. So you can take the one from the bottom or you can take the one from the top, and then you just make sure that 2 of them you can see at any one time. One other thing I wanted to show you quick was that there are these workers that are like these like Trailmaster. You'll notice that it is 1 worker, but if it was working at an exciting attraction, it'd be worth another 2, so it would be worth 3. And if it was at a relaxing attraction, it would be worth 2. So you can see that some of these they're always going to be worth 1 worker, but they're specialized for certain types of attractions, and you're going to make sure that you try to have those in your hand, because that's really helpful when you only have, if it's got 3 workers that need to be staffed on it. It's really nice to be able to just put one card down and just have it completely filled with just one worker. So, like, there you go. That's the brief mechanics of the game. It's, you know, it's definitely, you know, I'm not the biggest deck builder fan in the world, but I think this one went away enough from the basic deck builder mold that it kept me interested, and it kept me actually having a lot of fun putting everything together. So let me tell you more about that though in my conclusion. All right, there you go. That's how you play Epic Resort. Thanks a lot for sitting through that. All right, so I was referring to just a little bit ago. I was referring to the fact that like I wasn't a big fan of deck builders, and I found myself enjoying Epic Resort, much to my own surprise. And basically, that's because like deck builders, in my opinion, they just kind of. I mean, Dominion obviously like hit the scene, and people were just like, "Oh my gosh, this game's awesome," and it was. I remember I played, I'm guessing, around 75 games of Dominion, like actually like sitting at a table and playing with people. And I probably played another 50 to 75 of them on my phone. And I even went out and I spent a week of my time making a wooden chip version of the game and spending like $70 just to make a chip version. And I played that with it maybe like 5 times. I just did it because I thought it would be fun. I thought it would look cool, and it did. No. But deck builders just kind of like, it just felt like they never grew past the whole process of, you know, all right, flip, 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 here are my 5 cards. Okay, buy, take, your turn. All right, flip, 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 flip. Okay, buy, your turn. You know, and it was like, come on, there's got to be more, you know? And I mean, and obviously if I got that many plays out of Dominion, the game was good and I had fun with it. But it spoiled me for like pretty much every other deck builder that came down the pipe. I mean, it's just their longevity for my interest. It made the half-life shrink way, way down. And I found myself ditching them after a handful of plays, trading them off, giving them away, selling them to somebody, and I just, it's, you know, and I, like I said, I mean, it was like the whole process, or the whole deck building genre was kind of destroyed by the oversaturation of the games that came out too. I mean, it just seemed like for a while there, anybody that had a theme and a halfways decent idea was putting out a deck building game, and people were enjoying them, people were buying them. I mean, and because everybody wanted to make the next Dominion. Now, all that being said, Epic Resort for me, yes, it still has that whole process, but it kind of abandons it really quickly. You know, the whole, here's your starting hand, do what you're going to do with it. Well, instead of me using these cards to flat out just earn me money, I've got to figure out a way to like put these cards to work at my attractions and these places that I'm sending these tourists and these heroes to go. And I got to figure out which ones I got to put these people on. And then I got to balance having enough workers there, but also, you know, but I don't just need gold. I also need the flair. And then so you're just kind of like, and every time I say flair, I think Ric Flair, woo! But anyway, so like you're having this whole process where you're just kind of balancing it back and forth. And I really enjoyed that. I mean, it made me forget about the fact that I had this deck of cards that I was dealing with. And plus the whole process of having the deck of cards where you wanted to get rid of, you know, your junk. But it wasn't like it was tricky to do it. It was like, okay, make sure you hopefully have the lazy peon. So if you get attacked, you can throw them to the dragon. Make sure that you keep at least one apprentice in your hand, so then you can, you know, buy a different worker and get rid of that guy. Get rid of him because he's worthless. You know, he doesn't do anything for you. So it didn't try to be tricky, because the actual meat of the game wasn't really in like building your deck. For me, it was the whole process of figuring out how I was going to afford to pay for either the tourists that I needed to populate my attractions, or the money I needed to buy the attractions or the workers that I wanted. And it was just like, instead of the game being just all about deck building, it was just a minor little cog in a much greater mechanic that the game itself was. Now, that being said, what do I like about it? Like I said, I like the whole juggling act. I mean, I like games that do that for me, where I have to weigh. It's like, well, I need this, so I'm gonna have to screw myself on this, but I'll come back to you. I'll get gold eventually. And I like games where I got the balls in the air and I gotta keep them going. I gotta keep them going. So that's a challenge, and it's a fun thing for me to do. It's a light-hearted game, and I enjoy that. I enjoy fantasy-themed games. I enjoy the fact that, like, from the art that I've seen, it's really nice, and I love the fact that this game is eminently expandable. I'm not always a huge fan of expansions, because they always like, oh, let's just shove all this other stuff in. But this is like the perfect game where all I want is, 20 new monsters. All I want is 10 new heroes. I want 4 new workers. I don't want a bunch of new junk and new rules and whatever. Just expand on what's already there. And I'm really looking forward to what the game is going to kind of open up to and lead to, because I know Ben doesn't design a game as a standalone. He's already probably got 7 expansions thought of, and what he wants to do with the game, and how he wants to add to it, and how he wants to make it better. And so, I mean, ultimately, like, this game's going to get published. I'm looking forward to seeing what the end result is going to be. I'm really looking forward to just the look of it, how the game is going to see, because I love the idea of a fantasy theme park. The whole idea of heroes heading off to like a desert island with the money and the gold and the jewels they got from their most recent dungeon crawl, to just rest up and relax, and so they can do it all over again. I was really that's probably the thing that grabbed me the most. It was like, okay, you got me on the theme. Now give me a game that supports it and is fun to play to begin with. And ultimately, that's exactly what this game is. If you like fantasy-themed games, if you like juggling resources, if you like deck building, I think you're really, really going to enjoy this game. But don't take my word for it if you don't want to. Head over to the Kickstarter page, take a look at it. There's tons of other reviews from other really good reviewers that I strongly suggest you check out. Take a look at what the art and the finished look of the game is going to be. If you have any questions, please ask them of me, and I'll try to answer those to the best of my ability. And hopefully Ben will pop in here and he'll say his 2 cents and whatever as well. So I apologize that you may be watching this video after the Kickstarter is over, but you just have it wet your whistle until the game is actually published, then you can get a copy at that point as well. So, thank you as always for taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, this was Undead Viking, and you have yourself an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye now.